News Hub Sport.
There's been mixed fortunes for Team New Zealand on the first day of racing in the America's Cup World Series regatta. As we reported earlier, the holders blew Luna Rossa out of the water in the first race of the day, but mistakes saw American Magic get the better of the Kiwis in race 2. That's seen Dean Barker and the US challenger emerge as New Zealand's chief rival for the Cup. Tom McRae has the on-water action from the opening day.
While it was close to start,
Emirates, Team New Zealand, I would say winning that start.
That's as close as Luna Rossa got to Team New Zealand in race 1. The hosts had pushed their way in front as they crossed for the first time.
This is good news for Team New Zealand.
And by the time they made the turnaround, the first marker, it was clear how much faster Team New Zealand was. Upwind, Te Rehutai was reaching speeds of 35 knots. But downwind, that number was closer to 50, which is remarkable considering the wind was blowing a gentle 15 knots.
That's a fast boat.
But it wasn't just the speed of the boats where the Defender and Challenger were oceans apart. Team New Zealand's manoeuvring was far superior. They stayed up on their foils for the entire race, which helped them build a sizable lead. Luna Rossa weren't as smooth, highlighted by a failed final turn, which saw them lose even more time to the defenders.
Oh, absolute howler of attack there.
That error blew out the margin of victory to 3 minutes and 13 seconds.
This has been some display from the America's Cup defenders.
While the Italians would have been disappointed, they weren't embarrassed like INEOS Team UK. The Brits made a splash for all the wrong reasons and ended up being towed back to base later in the afternoon. It set up a thrilling final race of the day between New Zealand and the Americans.
Team New Zealand weren't able to get back up on their foils.
The Dean Barker skippered boat led from the start and built that lead throughout the first 2 legs, not helped by the fact the Kiwis weren't as sharp as race 1.
They've dropped off the foils in that manoeuvre again.
At one point, the Americans' lead was over 400 metres, but the Kiwis were able to eat away at the lead in the second half of the race.
Pete Burling's got a sniff here.
And it all came to a head at the final mark.
Who's going to get to the zone first? The zone mark is crucial.
Emirates,
Team New Zealand on the inside, and they will hold the action high. Overlap. The windward boat required to keep clear. That could be a lead change as long as they don't fall off the foils. Beautifully orchestrated by Emirates Team New Zealand.
But this race had one final twist. While the Kiwis had the lead, they lost it on the final leg. American Magic proving a real challenge. The 2 best boats of the regatta by far.
Well, for more analysis on the day's racing, Tom McRae joins us now. Tom, what went wrong for Team New Zealand in that second race?
Yeah, there were obviously a few technical issues that they had in the start box which put them behind right from the get-go, but they did extremely well to catch back up, and it shows you that you can never write a team off during a race. Probably not as ruthless right at the end there when they drew the penalty against Dean Barker around that last top mark as they could have been. They really could have held on to make the most of it, and nowhere near as clean as they could have been through some of those manoeuvres, through some of those tacks and jibes. So certainly a lot to work on for Team New Zealand, but one race from one, they've got the speed, they're looking pretty good, so I think they'll be relatively happy with today's racing.
Now, what about INEOS Team UK? Team New Zealand have a couple of races against them tomorrow. They appeared to suffer some technical issues as well.
Yeah, Andrew, they had an absolute shocker, and they have had major doubters over the last week or so. They've had huge issues over the through the practice races, and that was just amplified today. There's calls that their boat is a complete dud. They've spent more than any other team, more than 230 million New Zealand dollars on this campaign. So Ben Ainsley will have even more pressure heaped on his shoulders after today's racing. But there's still a long way to go, Andrew.
Good stuff, Tom. Thank you. That's Tom McRae there live from the Viaduct.
All right, the first day of racing in the America's Cup World Series has just wrapped up in Auckland. The boats showing staggering speed. The first head-to-head races provided spectacular action for thousands of fans on and off the water at vantage points across the city of sails. To give us a flavour of the day now, let's go live to Kimberley Downs. You get all the tough jobs, Kim. Not a bad day to be by the water.
Look, Simon, have I had worse days? Yes, absolutely I have. It has been fun, hasn't it? Auckland putting on an absolute stunner just to add to the treat of finally getting to see these remarkable boats out racing in anger for the very first time. It has been quite the spectacle on Auckland's Waitemata Harbour, drawing thousands of people to various points around the waterfront to try and get a glimpse of the action. And it's not just Aucklanders. I've spoken to fans who have come up from Christchurch, from Blenheim to watch the racing, all of them remarking, of course, on the speed of these boats, but also on how lucky they feel that New Zealand has been able to host an event like this, particularly after the year that we've had. Those fans, though, you'd think might leave today with some mixed feelings. Team New Zealand going 1 from 2 on Te Rehu Tai today, demolishing Luna Rossa in the early race. That's the Italian syndicate, before being pipped by Dean Barker's American Magic in just the last half hour by all of 12 seconds. Kiwi fans, though, no need to stress, because this is a very long campaign and there is a very long way still to go in this America's Cup. If today's action, though, is a taste of what we can expect going forward, then, Simon, I think it's safe to say we're in for a fun summer.
Much to anticipate. Great taste of the day. Thank you very much, Kim. Kimberly Downs on Auckland's water.
Welcome back. The race for the America's Cup is officially on as the World Series Regatta opened this afternoon on Auckland's Waitemata Harbour. Team New Zealand was an early standout until they got a sailing lesson from an old teammate. Here's Abby Wilson with the day's dramas on the water.
It might have been American Magic against Team New Zealand, but behind the wheel it was Kiwi versus Kiwi, and Dean Barker won the battle of the start line.
And he's going to win it with some comfort as well.
Te Rehu Tai slow to get back up and foiling as Patriot raced away.
The hunters on here from Emirates Team New Zealand.
In their first race of the day, the Kiwis showed stability and speed, but as they tried to chase the Americans down, it wasn't such smooth sailing.
Yeah, they've fallen off the foils. How costly will this be?
While the boats couldn't look more different, their speed was relatively even, which made playing catch-up tricky. But in the shifty conditions, the Kiwis started to claw things back.
Pete Burling's got a sniff here.
At the top mark, Peter Burling made his move, pushing Barker and the Americans wide.
Beautifully orchestrated by Emirates Team New Zealand at the top mark.
But the lead change was short-lived. The Kiwis once again touching down, and that was all American Magic needed. They refused to relinquish the lead a second time, roaring home to win by 12 seconds.
Just had to keep it a bit more simple than we did, and just sail a bit more polished. But it's really, I suppose, pleasing if you can make that many mistakes and still be able to have a good nudge at the last top mark.
Team New Zealand will feel more positive about their first race of the day, streaming away from challenger of record Luna Rossa.
New Zealand are absolutely smoking.
Speeds of up to 47 knots and just 15 knots of breeze. No one expected this matchup to be quite so one-sided, the Italians losing by more than 3 minutes.
Team New Zealand did a great job there, not too many mistakes. Unfortunately, we lost our starting software during the start, lost all the numbers, but to be quite honest, they were just much sharper turning the corners, so full credit to them.
1 win and 1 loss. Plenty to debrief tonight. Abby Wilson, One News.
Well, it's a completely different story for Team UK, who may well be wondering what they have to do to change their fortunes. Their boat labelled a lame duck before racing. The Brits enduring a day that couldn't have been any worse. They were already well off the pace against American Magic in their first outing before a dramatic moment on the Hauraki Gulf.
50 seconds.
Right, it's just completely locked out here.
Oh, the boat survived, but their second race of the day was almost as bad, with the Brits issued a penalty before they even crossed the start line against Luna Rossa. That put them well behind before another disaster forced them to retire.
Although we're sailing around by us.
Well, we've been having issues all day with our foil can system, and it's been a challenge for us, to be honest, just to sail the boat. And unfortunately, the whole thing shut down.
It was a lonely tow home for the Brits as Luna Rossa raced past them. A lot of work to do tonight. Well, the racing on Course C couldn't have been better for those hoping to watch from some of Auckland's best vantage points, as Chris Chang reports.
Auckland served up some champagne sailing conditions out there, and We're on course C, which is the best possible course for spectators. They're going to get a great showing today.
It'll be spectacular, they said, when these engineering marvels are hurtling across the Hauraki Gulf, right on our doorstep. This didn't disappoint.
I thought we would be close. I thought we would have a good view. I didn't realize we'd be right on top of them. So this is a fantastic opportunity. I'm so excited. This is a long-term dream for me to be here.
So fast. They're very fast and really enjoying it. It's just great.
You can see start, the finish, right across. I think it's fantastic.
Maungaika North Head on Auckland's North Shore, a postcard position and an opportunity to run the rule over the competitors.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been following it for ages. Ever since they started foiling, it's just turned the old sailing into, Formula One on the water, which is absolutely amazing.
Pretty cool, much bigger than I thought they were and can go really fast.
A few hundred trekked their way up here, but they're not expecting the not-so-secret location to be this easy to access for future races.
I think we'll be back to see some more racing. It's just great.
How early did you get here to secure a spot?
About 3 hours ago. Yep. So
come up, enjoying the scenery, and
worth it.
Beautiful.
Where else in the world can they be doing this?
The city of sails living up to the hype with a tantalising taste of more to come. Chris Chang, One News.